every successful person, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, all these hugely successful people, Winston Churchill, Albert Einstein, they all say that the key to their success, being able to follow their heart and intuition. Somehow they were able to do that. Okay, and it's what led them to really be this living expression of their inner greatness, is because they were following the voice of their inner greatness, right? And so that's really the key to being successful. And the problem that most people have is they have lots and lots of ego-based thoughts and emotionally pain-based thoughts. And we're so used to having all four kinds of thoughts our whole life that we don't make the distinction, we don't discriminate, and we can't really tell which thought is which kind. We're not even looking for that. We're just sort of absorbed in the whole process of having all these kinds of thoughts and having them influence us. So you remember I used muscle testing, right? And so I'm going to muscle test on your behalf, if that's fine with you, okay? And so if I just check to what extent the ego and emotionally pain-based thoughts are influencing your decision making. And the ego-based thoughts are 30, 40, 50, 60, 51, 59. It's not a percentage, okay? But out of 100, 59% effect on your decisions from ego-based thought. That's a lot, okay? That's a lot. That means that very, very frequently, more than half the time, you're unaware that it's happening, okay? But your ego-based thoughts are driving your decision. This is majorly interfering with your success. Okay. The emotional pain-based thoughts are 30, 40, 50, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 48. Also pretty high, okay? Pretty high. So I'm giving us those numbers ahead of time because when we finish the session, we can recheck and see what kind of progress we've made. Okay? If we can bring those down, to whatever degree we can bring them down, this is going to be really good, because if we check on the practical and emotional side, most people have very high practical thoughts. Pretty much everybody is pretty good at that. So I'm going to check for you on that. 70, 80, 91. Yeah, 88. That's great. 88. This is the practical thoughts. Huh? Practical. This is just like, all the organizing of things that you do in your job, getting directions to go to the company, coordinating everybody, all there's tons of practical thoughts. You're good at that, okay? Could be even better, but you're great at that. Huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty practical, all right.
Yeah, and that's good. Now, the intuitive thoughts tends to be low because those are very much impacted by the strength of the influence of the not useful ones, the ego and emotionally pain-based ones. So currently, you're at 10, 20, 25%.
Right.
20, and it's not a percentage, actually. It's 25. Yep. It's like 25% of the time, because now you'll notice that those don't add up to 100. That's much more than 100. That's because you have multiple influences from different kinds of stuff all the time. Okay. So I just want to do that to get kind of a baseline so that when we're done, we can see what kind of progress we made. And the intention that I'm going to have, and I think you'll share it with me, is that we want to drive down the ego and emotionally pain-based numbers as much as possible. So we want to find those specific traumatic energies and reactive energies in you, resolve them with the techniques, okay? Because this is going to give us the most realistic, sustainable kind of progress. Does that make sense? You up for that? So the issues that we're dealing with, you look like you're already in touch with some emotional pain. Is it correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like you're about to cry. That's okay.
Yep.
Now, this is actually okay, but I'm going to show you something that's actually vastly superior to crying. There's nothing wrong with crying, but I'm going to show you something better. Now, there's an energy inside of you that's making you feel like you're going to cry. It's a kind of tight knot or ball.
Yep.
Where is it? In your heart, chest, belly?
It's in my throat most of the time.
Yeah, the throat. Okay. let's resolve this. It's just beautiful that this is just coming out right away, but let's resolve it in a way that's vastly superior to crying. Now, here's what you do. Close your eyes. It's much easier to do with your eyes closed. Notice that feeling in your throat, kind of a constriction. Huh? Yeah, it's the feeling that's causing you to feel like you want to cry. Now, notice that there's a field of energy there, and in the field, there's a place where it's stronger than elsewhere, typically right in the center. I want you to just put your attention right into the center of that strongest part of the energy. And it's kind of intense because it's been overwhelming you, causing you to cry. And this is not the first time you've felt this. You've done it many times. But the crying doesn't complete the incomplete experience of the traumatic energy that's being held there. Okay? It's kind of collapsing into it and just having it overwhelm you, which is okay, but it's not really fruitful. Okay? But you'll notice that if you focus right into the center of the strongest part of it, even though it's kind of intense, and you can back up from it if you need to, just move back a little bit so it's not quite so intense. And notice if you focus right into the center of it, you don't feel like crying. That's cool. And that's because you're creating a slight distance from it rather than let it sort of grab you and suck you into it and overwhelm you. Okay? And this is what we want, because the problem here is that there's an incompletion. There's some painful experience of the past that you just couldn't process in the time that it happened. It was too much. And so you've been storing it inside, and it's still painful. Every time you just touch it, then it has been causing you to cry. So stay focused on the central, strongest part of it. The intensity level of that will stay more or less the same for a while. But then what's going to happen is eventually it will gradually start to soften and become less, because just by noticing it, just by giving it your attention, it's actually starting to complete the incomplete experience of the energy that creates that sensation. So when it gets a little softer, let me know. Already happening?
It's like it's getting a little bit fluffier or something.
Ah,
A very dark spot.
yeah, it's changing. That's
Bubbling.
great. Yeah, so you have to judge whether it feels okay to do it, but as it starts to get softer or fluffier or whatever changes happening, feels like it's okay to do it, get a little closer to it. Now that'll make it seem stronger, not because it is stronger, it's actually weaker, but it'll feel stronger just because you're closer to it. So you have to kind of adjust the distance and get it just right where you can really feel it, so you can keep doing the process of completing it by just noticing it, but not so close that it's overwhelming and sucks you into it and makes you crying. It's okay if it happens, but it's not so productive. Yeah, it's kind of amazing when you focus on the central, strongest part of it. Almost seems counterintuitive, but it's amazing. It works. You stop feeling like you're going to cry. And you're also doing something that's actually the opposite of what you've been doing all your life. Mainly, you've either been suppressing your feelings or getting overwhelmed by them. And so what we're doing is something new. We're not doing either suppression or overwhelm. We're doing completion. But it's a gradual process. You can't do it sort of in a finger snap. Eventually, maybe you'll be able to get good at it so it goes really fast. I have some clients who do it in seconds. But in the beginning, you're going against a lifetime of suppression and avoidance. And so it takes a while to get the hang of just allowing yourself to notice the energy and begin the process of completing it. And then continue that process by gradually getting closer as it gets softer. Gene's doing it just right. Yeah, you're doing it exactly. Yeah, you're doing it exactly right. And notice how it continues to soften a little bit. As it does, get a little closer again. And just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you get very near the end where the energy is almost completed, the experience will start to change. The energy will start to kind of break up or dissipate or dissolve and kind of move away. And at the very end, it'll be kind of like the fog burning off in the morning sun. It'll just sort of vanish and disappear, and then you'll be just in a state of quietness. And when that happens, let me know.
Just feeling all light and airy.
Sorry?
It's feeling light and airy.
Light and airy. Wonderful. This is much better. Still some of that feeling left there? A little tightness in the throat still? Yeah, there's no rush. It has its own timing. We don't get to control how quickly or slowly it happens. What only thing we can do is do it efficiently. And the two aspects of being efficient are to just notice, gently notice the central strongest part of the energy, not try and make it go away, not try and do anything to it. And then just gradually get closer as it softens. And do that kind of immediately as it softens, get a little bit closer. This way we can do it efficiently and get this completed. Getting easier?
Lighter and fluffier, and my throat feels soft.
Very good.
The throat is feeling like a tight, hard knot.
Yeah, just keep going. The basic concept is we want to feel the essence of this energy so thoroughly, so completely, that there's nothing left to feel. You're doing it just right.
I feel like I'm smiling on the inside.
Hey, that sounds good. Progress. Excellent. So when it feels like all the energy's gone, then you can open your eyes, but just take all the time you need. There's absolutely no rush.
I think I'd need to practice that a few times myself, Tom, because I'm not the most relaxed person in the world.
Yeah, the feeling of being not the most relaxed
Yeah.
is actually caused by the very things we're talking about here. It's caused by stress, the emotional stress, trauma, those kind of things. It causes you to feel kind of, agitated and yeah.
I understand that, yeah.
But it's possible to do this even with that as a kind of background or even foreground. I mean, as long as you can stay focused on the central strongest part of the energy, even if there are other things that could be kind of distracting, actually the way it works best is what I said about getting immediately closer to it as it softens. This has a tendency to keep you very engaged in that process. And even if there are other distractions, they're not so predominant as to really pull you out of what you're doing. So you did good. You did really good. Okay, I'm going to just check for you. This first energy is completed. Excellent. Very good. There's still some more of it hidden somewhere we need to go look for. Oh, cool. Okay. So this was actually very good. And you don't feel like crying now?
Not right now.
Not right now. Now, for sure, that's probably not the only energy that has made you cry.
Yeah.
There will be others, okay? So we may run into them or we may not, but you just learned a way to deal with that that's extremely valuable. Now, you're right. You do need to have some practice with this. You need to be guided through it a few times. And I have some resources for you to help you with that even after this session. There's a free app with the instructions in it. You just swipe anywhere on the screen to the right and it gives you the next instructions. Very cool.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll send you the links to all of that stuff. And some other resources. So that'll be good. Okay, good. So we didn't get to test for the number of these traumatic energies that are really at the root cause of the high emotional pain-based number. And we also didn't check for the key central root cause reactive energies. They're at the high number for the ego-based thoughts. So I'm going to do that now. It's absolutely no problem that we just got something very, very substantial out of the way, which is really good, really good. So good job on that. Okay, so in addition to the one that we just resolved, there's still 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are 3 additional traumatic energies that we want to get out of the way that are the core problematic ones. Okay, and you'll notice that it's doable. I mean, you know, it takes a little bit of focus. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but you know, the concern about doing it is really kind of the 3-year-old inside of us. It doesn't think this is a very good idea to do this. But, you know, you're not 3 anymore. You have now, as an adult, you have a huge capacity to feel things and heal things, heal yourself. But it's grossly underutilized because everyone's deeply conditioned to do the suppression and the avoidance thing, right? So it's very underutilized. You just haven't been using it. So we're changing that now. We're going to become much more emotionally competent and skilled by virtue of learning this new way of handling emotional energies. Okay. Now on the reactive emotion side, we have 1, 2, we have just 2 that are sort of key central ones. Okay? So we have 5 additional energies to deal with, 3 with what we just did, which we call the in technique. We go into the energy. And 2 of this, for the reactive emotions, we go the out technique. We go outside of it. And I'll show you how to do that when we get to that. Okay? So how are you doing? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably feel a little lighter already, even just with that first one. Yeah, a little bit. So
the glasses off there, yeah.
Yeah.
They're in my way.
Yeah, very good. So what we're going to do next is we're going to use a procedure called the locate technique. We need to just do it by thinking about something, you know, locate technique. Yeah. So we're going to use something called the locate technique, which is we're going to go into the background of quietness we got to when the energy was gone. There's a simple way to do that. We call it the quietness technique. You just look off to the side of your thoughts and you start to notice that it's just quiet in the background. It has to be quiet or we wouldn't be able to hear our thoughts. Okay? It's a little bit like when you look up at the sky on a partly cloudy day, you see the clouds, and to see the sky, you just look off to the side and there's the sky. It's like they're in the background all the time. Like that, our thoughts are kind of like the clouds. They come and go in a background of silence. And the background of silence is kind of like the sky. It's always there, and it's right there. If we just look off to the side of our thoughts, it's there. Okay. So I'm going to guide you through the process of doing that, and we'll do it a few times. Each time a thought comes, we'll look off to the side, and you'll start to get a number of tastes of that quietness. Now, other thoughts will come along and interrupt it. That's okay. We just look off to the side of the new thoughts, and we get the quietness again. Okay. So once you have a kind of sequence of sort of tastes of the quietness, then we're in a position where there's really nothing to prevent us from feeling what the body shows us when we tell it what we want to see. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell the body, just by having the thought, is, come on, body, I'm ready to feel this. Show me the next dramatic energy that's at the real root cause of my making mistakes. Okay. You up for it? Okay, very good. Here we go. So go ahead and close your eyes again.
Yep.
Yeah, get some water first. Good idea. Okay. You're doing great so far. Okay. So here we go. So when you close your eyes, you can hear my voice, you can feel your body sitting in the chair, and you'll have thoughts coming through your mind. Now, as the thoughts come, I want you to perceive them in a particular way, and that is just sort of observe them from a little bit of a distance, almost like what we did with the crying energy, where you just sort of observed it, you know? It's the same thing. You just sort of notice thoughts, observe them, and something that helps with that is just don't be concerned about the meaning or the content of the thoughts for now, okay? Just sort of observing the phenomena of thoughts occurring in the mind. That's easy enough to do. It's a little bit different than the usual thing of getting kind of absorbed in them or lost to them. Just sort of observe them from a little bit of a distance. And as the next thoughts are coming, as soon as you're ready to do it, start looking off to the side of the thoughts, noticing the quietness, kind of emptiness of the background. Now, normally we don't pay any attention to this quiet background. This quiet background is actually your awareness. It's the awareness you use to have the thoughts, to have your perceptions, to experience everything. And normally we don't pay any attention to awareness because there's nothing there. So in a sense, it's kind of uninteresting because we're interested in experiencing things. But today, we're very interested in experiencing this nothingness place, pure awareness place. Because when we get a real sense of that, by doing it repeatedly, we start to have the experience of kind of feeling like that's there. And when we're in that state, there's really nothing in the way of allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is the body's going to show. So now, sufficient, yeah. So now you can just tell the body, show me the energy of this next traumatic, emotionally painful energy that's still in me, that's at the real root cause of my making poor decisions and mistakes. Pretty much immediately, the body will show you another tight, constricted place inside. Might not be as intense as the one that was making you cry, or it might be, could be either way. Feel anything?
Around my solar plexus.
Solar plexus, okay. Very common place to store emotional energy. In fact, it's even known as the emotional chakra, the solar plexus. Yep. So notice the field of energy that's there. Adjust how close or far away from it you are so that you can really feel it, but not so close as to be overwhelmed. And have the focus of your attention be right into the center of the strongest part of the energy field. And again, we don't try to do anything to it or make it go away. We just simply notice it. And this begins the process of completing this incomplete experience. And when it eventually softens and becomes less, right away we get closer to it, which will make it seem stronger again. And keep focused on the central strongest part, and each time it softens, get closer, And just keep doing that until you've felt it so thoroughly that there's nothing left to feel. Getting better? Pretty well gone, or still a little bit left?
I think I can see a little bit.
Okay. Hang in there until it's all gone. When it feels like it's really gone, then you can open your eyes. That's a good sign. Big sigh like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice sign of a kind of release there. Good. Okay. Yeah, and you're smiling more. This is good.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, this one is also now completed. Excellent. Very good job. Okay. So we have another one. Yep, right.
Okay.
You already are in the silence just there. If you close your eyes again, just go back into the quietness. Tell the body, okay, body, I'm ready for the next one. Show it to me now. And it will. Did you find some energy? No, okay. So sometimes you have to really make a very conscious decision that when the body shows you, you're going to allow it to show you, and you're going to allow yourself to feel it, because we're dealing with a lifetime of suppression and avoidance here. So it's quite common that this, you ask and you don't get it. So what you have to do is just kind of convince the body. You say, come on, body, I'm really serious here. I mean it. I'm ready to feel this energy. Show it to me now. And they don't all feel the same, okay? They can have a different quality about them. They can feel kind of like emptiness or darkness or coldness or heat. I mean, there's all kinds of different variations on the quality of it. So don't have an expectation that it'll be exactly the same kind of painful energy like the first two. It could be different. It could be just a pressure. But it'll be something other than that expansive quietness of your awareness. You got something now? Not yet. Okay, it's all right. Now there is a possibility that we handled all three already. Let me just check that. Oh, yeah, the reason you're not getting anything is because somehow in the process of handling the first two, maybe in the first one you got two of them, I don't know. But it's handled, okay? So that's why you're not finding it. So that's perfect. This is great. So that means we can move on to the reactive energies. Right? Now, you probably have a sense of what at least one of those is. When you have reactions, what do they tend to be? Anger, fear, frustration? Any kind of common one that comes up?
I'd probably say annoyance, but maybe it really is anger.
Yeah, annoyance is kind of like a more polite word for anger, right?
Anger sounds very strong. Annoyance sounds...
Yeah, it's a little lighter.
Yeah,
but
maybe I really am angry.
Let's just check. Anger is the reaction. Yeah. And annoyance is the attempt to sort of marginalize it. Okay, so anger is a typical reaction when we have an expectation that something happen a certain way and it doesn't happen the way we want. Now, the interesting thing about it is that our anger is not about what happens. Our anger is about that we got attached to a story that it was going to happen a certain way and it didn't happen the way we wanted. So interestingly enough, the anger is a reaction to the story, not to the circumstance, strangely enough.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to do is we want to be able to get rid of the story. However, we can't do that when the story is active and when we have a kind of residual cloud of energy of the anger present, it sort of makes the whole thing seem so real that there's something a little bit in front of the camera here, a little paper or something. Jane, there's something a little bit in front of the camera. Some paper. It's blocking part of the view of you.
Oh, sorry. I'm
That's
leaning
good.
here, yeah.
No problem. We got it now. Good. Okay. So yeah, so the anger is typically a reaction to the story, and we can't get rid of the story intellectually, even if you understand it. If the emotional energy, residue of the emotional energy is still there, it's very difficult to stop it. But once we get outside the energy field of the reaction of the emotion, then it becomes possible. And you'll see, as we do it, you'll see, okay? So this kind of energy is quite different than the in-technique energies. The in-technique energies tend to be very concentrated, kind of intense, localized, yeah? Very easy to identify. The out-technique energies are more vague, they're softer, they're more cloud-like or aura-like. The energy sort of radiates out from the body and it fills up the space around you. Now, the reason that they're problematic is because they fill up the space around you, and then you're seeing through that cloud of energy, which kind of filters everything, kind of acts like, it's almost like having dark glasses on. It kind of colors everything. So, for example, if you're annoyed or angry, whatever word we use, whatever the feeling is there, the description of it doesn't matter. The problem is that there's something going on where there's one or frequently happens, or the clouds of energy, you're inside of them, and you're influenced by seeing the world through that. This is where your perception is literally clouded, okay? Literally clouded. And so if somebody has done something that you didn't expect, or you wanted it to be a different way, and you're upset and you're angry about that, having a reaction, and then someone else comes along, some friend of yours is completely innocent, hasn't done anything to you, and they say, "Oh, Gene, how are you doing?" And you're so caught up in the anger, you say, "Don't talk to me." It's like that. You understand? I'm giving kind of a crude example, but these kinds of things happen. And even if you don't say it or you don't act it, you have this kind of attitude of, I'm caught in my anger. Please don't disturb me. It would be the more polite response. So, whatever the reaction, it's still causing you to not be your best self under that circumstance. It's causing you to not be able to come from the place of clarity and presence and attentiveness and creativity. You can't do that because you're caught up in the reactive energy. This is what we want to become skilled at not doing. We want to become skilled at being able to dismantle the reactions, and we want to get really good at that. So I'm going to take you through two of these. You've got the two key ones that are really the most cornerstone-like at the basis of creating problems for yourself. Okay, so the out technique energies radiate out from the body, and they create this kind of cloud or aura of energy that engulfs and surrounds us. Mm-hmm. And this tends to make the whole environment just be colored by that. Mm-hmm. And our decisions, our thinking and decisions are influenced by that. And so, to the extent that we can, we want to become skilled at removing these kind of energies so that they no longer have this negative impact on us. Okay, so to allow yourself to feel the cloud of energy, the aura of energy, is the first step. And I believe I was asking you if there's some reaction. You said typically annoyance or anger. Is there any particular thing that commonly happens that generates that kind of reaction?
A reaction of annoyance and anger.
Yeah. I think.
Oh my word.
Yes. If it's too personal, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, it would be really more to do with family members than, yeah,
Sure.
being out there, yeah. Yeah.
There you go. So I don't need to know the details.
Yeah.
If you know it, that's enough,
Yeah.
okay? Because when you think of those kinds of situations that come up and then you have your reaction, you should be able to easily feel this sort of cloud of energy that sort of radiates out from the body, creates this sort of aura all around you. Can you feel that?
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's exactly how it works. Now, the way to get out of this cloud is very
Mm.
simple. Right? Turns out to be very simple. And it's easiest again to do this with your eyes closed. So close your eyes and I'll guide you through how to get out of it. All we really have to do is go see how big the cloud of energy is. And the way you do that, especially when you're first learning it, the way you do that is you just let your awareness, pardon me, the way you do that is you just let your awareness move out into the space around you further and further, kind of moving through the field or cloud of energy until you come to the place where the energy just sort of fades off into the surrounding quietness. And sometimes the energy fields can seem quite big, and that's okay. You just keep going until you find that place where the energy fades off into the quietness. We're interested in accessing that quietness that's outside the field of energy.
The cloud is staying dark enough.
Mm. Pretty big field, huh?
Mm.
Much bigger than you think at the beginning. But if you just keep going, you'll find that there is a place where the energy just kind of fades off into the quietness. That quietness that's out there is your awareness, and you're actually already there. You've just kind of forgotten that you're there because you've been absorbed in this cloud of energy. But if you keep going, you'll kind of slide out of it into the quietness.
Mm-hmm.
Already getting that. Okay, good.
Brighter, yeah.
Yeah, so you can notice that the quietness is there. Now, to make the distinction between the quietness and the energy even more clear, go a little bit further away from the energy field by just noticing the area of the quietness that's a little further away. That's pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now go much deeper into the quietness, quite far away from the energy field. Deep into the quietness. And you'll notice as you're doing that, that there's no barriers here. You could just kind of go on forever. There's a quality of vastness, sort of limitlessness of it. You get a sense of that? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very good. Excellent, excellent. So just enjoy that for a moment. Notice there's no annoyance or anger energy out here. It's just quiet, peaceful, expansive. Yeah, you're smiling. It's a nice place to be. Yeah. How cool it would be if we could function from this place all the time. That would be really
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, well, I got a program to take you there, so we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later. We just have to clean up the inner emotional landscape of all this kind of
Mm.
reactive and emotional pain garbage, and then it's just naturally there, actually.
Mm.
So notice as you look back at the energy cloud you were inside of just a little bit ago, what's happening to it?
Seeming smaller and further away.
Yeah, shrinking, fading away. This is great. Exactly what we want. Now, you can also see that this kind of annoyance, anger reaction has been a reaction to some kind of expectation or expectations not being met.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the habit of keeping the expectation ongoing lively in your awareness, even though it hasn't been met, notice that it's not helping you make it get met. In fact, notice that continuing to allow the expectation, oh, it should have happened that way, right? Something like that. To keep that in your awareness, is it actually helping you to have the life that you want? Absolutely not. I mean, it's not influencing anything. It's just making you miserable, right? So notice that this is not a great investment of your life energy. In fact, it's not only useless, it's actually damaging because it's draining your life energy. And it's also keeping you caught up in the reactive emotion, which is clouding your perception, causing you to make mistakes.
Yep.
So there's no point in keeping it. And notice that now that you're outside the energy cloud, you see things in a whole new light. And the energy doesn't have this sort of engulfing grip on you that it had before. You're now much more at choice because you're more conscious of what's happening. You're much more at choice about whether you allow this story to continue to get your life energy, to keep it in your awareness or not. And the moment you decide to not give it the time of day anymore, no more energy for this thought, okay? Because it's useless, even damaging. So the moment you decide that and you let it go, then any remaining energy in the story will collapse back into nothingness.
Perfect.
And be gone. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Isn't that lovely? It's so simple. Yeah.
Yep, indeed.
I've discovered something quite wonderful with this technique, Gene. This is the first systematic method of dismantling the energies that create the ego. And the ego is the false sense of ourself made up of all these stories that keep us locked in these illusions of stuff that isn't even real. It's amazing. Yeah. So this is a great discovery and a great thing to get good at. You're going to want to get really good at this because you have a backlog of lots and lots of them. Everybody does, right? So you need to get skilled at extracting yourself from them as you just did. Notice how you're no longer identified with that story. It doesn't even feel like it's a part of your life. Excellent. This is really, really good. Good job. There's one more of this kind of thing. And this one is not an unmet expectation. This is a projection of a possible negative outcome onto the future. And you know you've been doing that. Yeah. You might even know about what. So it'd be easy by just thinking about that one. You can probably immediately feel that cloud of energy that it produces. Even though it's a different kind of story, it produces a similar structure, similar kind of cloud of energy. Can you feel it? Yeah, okay, let's go see how big this one is. Go ahead and close your eyes. Go find that outer edge in the surrounding quietness. We'll do just like before. Got it? Okay, go a little bit deeper to get the distinction between the quietness and the energy even more clear. And further away. Yeah, and then again, go really far away from the energy field, deep into the quietness. And by the way, whenever you do this technique and you get to this stage, Gene, always take a little time to just notice and enjoy how vast and limitless the quietness is. A wonderful place to be. The reason it's so wonderful is what you're experiencing when you allow yourself to feel that vast limitlessness. This is your awareness, and it is limitless. This is your essential nature. This is the part of you that allows you to experience everything. Normally, we don't pay any attention to it, but this is a way to not only pay attention to it, but to kind of re-merge with it and recognize that this actually is the real you. And the real you has to be limitless. It has to be able to respond spontaneously to the needs of any moment with the fullness of your being. And that's the way you want to be living, rather than caught up in all these reactive and emotionally painful experiences. So we've had a lifetime of accumulating these things. So there's a backlog. That means there's some work to do. But I'm gonna point you in the direction of the resources to be able to get really good at this and clean it up. It helps to create an entirely new life, better than you ever could have imagined before. That's
Even
good.
though it's good at the moment,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have it even better would be nice. Great. Okay. And even when the software is working, the upgrades come out, right? More features, faster, better. Okay. So again, notice the story in this case. There's a story of some projection of some negative outcome into the future. We're already in touch with that before. But notice how you can see it more clearly now. When you're outside energy and you look back, energy's fading away, and the story becomes crystal clear. Now notice that the story is always a projection into the future. It's never about this moment. You see that?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's actually irrelevant to the moment. This moment is all there is, really. So this is just kind of keeping you stuck in kind of a stuckness in the future, in a way. So in order to let this story go, we want to challenge the usefulness of allowing it to continue to be there. And is it actually helping you avoid something bad happening to have this story running in your mind? No, interesting. It's not really helpful.
No.
And so is it supporting you in having the life that you really want to allow it to continue to be in your awareness? No. So it's, again, not a good investment of your life energy. It's actually wasteful, right? Could use it for much better things. So when you recognize that, this makes it easy to decide to kind of unplug the power cord and just not allow this story to be there, not have it have any real estate in your awareness. And the moment you do that, the story and any residual energy will just collapse back into the nothingness out of which you created them. And then they're gone. Now, you're so aware of this now that the probability of bringing it back would be extremely remote. Because if it started to rear its ugly head out of nothingness, you say, yeah, I remember that one. Nope, I'm not going to give it any energy. Yeah? Okay, super. Good job. Hey, fantastic. We got all 5 of these energies. They're all completed. Yes. That's excellent. Something else that would be appropriate for us to do? Yes. More techniques? No. Some discussion. Okay. First thing is that we want to see what kind of influence what we've done today has had. And there's, of course, the old saying, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So we want to have some experience, life experience now for maybe a couple of weeks and see how things go. And see what I'd like you to do during that 2 weeks is if you notice that you're functioning a little differently, right? Make a little note of it someplace.
I will.
Yeah, and then let's have a little discussion in about 2 weeks should be good. And we can kind of get a sense of this. And what we'll do is you wrote down those numbers I gave you before, right? It was 88, 25, 59, and 48. Okay? The 4 types of thoughts. Okay? Yeah, 88 for practical, 25, I remember it, 25 for intuitive, and 59 for, actually, we're going to check actually right now and see how much we've, just from what we've done now, and then we can check again in a couple of weeks and see, Okay. So ego-based thoughts have come down by some amount, so it's now less than 50. Oh, that's really good. Less than 40. No, it's 40 something. 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 46. From 59 down to 46, 13 points. That's huge. That's an enormous improvement. So we got what we're looking for, which is a lot of bang for the buck. We got some of the major stuff that's really been in your way out of the way. This is a great development. On the emotional pain-based side, we were at 48. It's now still in the 40s. Yeah, 41, 2, 3, 43. So it came down from 48 to 43. That's 5 points. That's still also very good. Good progress. Now, you can see that if you get good at this and you do it a bunch, we can whittle away at the backlog and increasingly get those numbers down and begin to, what it does is it just naturally frees up the intuitive thoughts. That number will just go up without doing anything about it. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of giving it space to be experienced and appreciated. Yeah. So I have a special program I've created called the Freedom Practice, which teaches you how to do this really well on a daily basis. You make a little Freedom Practice report, and then I mentor you daily, every day. Okay? Right. And it's very easy to do because just you write a few sentences about what happened, and if it's all okay, I just say, okay, if there's something you need, then I'll point it out to you, and I'll be able to see it when you can't. Okay?
Right,
because you're inside of it, I'm not. I'm outside of it.
Okay.
I'll send you some information about that, some stuff to read. If it interests you, you can.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Sure. And I was also, I think you know this, but I've been talking with Rosemary and also, about maybe doing a live event there in Ireland. I think that would be really fun. I've never been to Ireland, but I have some Irish blood in me.
Right. Well, when I met you first with Beryl and Mel.
Yeah.
Or is it Bell and Merrill? I always get the names mixed up. I remember talking to you about coming to Ireland to do workshops.
Yeah. I kind of remember that. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Do a visit here, yeah.
Yeah, let's make that happen. That'd be wonderful. I just have this feeling that's going to happen, so that'll be great. Yeah, so you guys can organize all that, and we'll talk it over and make some good arrangements. It's a win-win all the way around, and we'll do that. That'll be great.
Thank you very much. That's been most interesting altogether.
Very good. Very, very good. Something else we need to discuss. Okay, so has to do with the follow-up. No, it has to do with the training. No, it has to do with with the anger reactions. Yeah. Okay. So now that you've dismantled this major one, doesn't mean that you won't ever get angry. Okay. Because that was just one of the many reactive emotions you have. But what I'd like to suggest for you to do is, it's actually kind of the beginning. It's kind of a special mini version of the freedom practice. What I suggest you do is, if you feel an anger reaction coming, see if it's possible to shift to neutral, come back to that quiet place, and allow yourself to notice the cloud of energy that's producing, and immediately do that same process of going outside of it. Okay? It's kind of like we're going to target anger as kind of like one of your main categories of habitual reactions. Okay? So you need a little bit of special attention on that one, and that's going to help you a lot to help not only bring down those numbers, but just to help you just increasingly not do that. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Something more to discuss? No. Okay. We got it. Excellent. Well, Jean, lovely to see you again and to get a little better acquainted by being able to work with you today. This was great. You did fabulous, and very much look forward to meeting you in person again when I come to Ireland. That'll be great. And
that has to be in the nearish future.
Nearish future. Yeah, sometime in the next months. Yeah, great. And I will send you some additional information, resources about these different things we've discussed.
Thank you.
And then we'll do maybe as a separate email. We'll see, or in the same one. I'll suggest some. What's your timing? What's best for you? For
Oh,
doing follow-up? Anytime? You're
mm,
pretty flexible.
yeah.
Okay. So I'll suggest some times that'll work for my
Mm,
schedule in a
mm,
couple of weeks. And then we'll get back together, and it'll be a probably short call, 10, 15 minutes, just get a report from you, have a little
yeah.
discussion, see how things are going.
Thank
Be
you.
very interested to see what you will notice now in how your functioning will be changing in the coming weeks. Excellent. Okay. Fantastic. We'll see you in a couple of weeks then.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank
You as
you. Bye bye. Thank you.